Hi everyone, it is Thursday, August 7th. It is about 10:10 at night, and tonight for my video I'm going to be doing something a little bit different than my usual Marine or boot camp talk. Tonight I'm going to do the story of the beginning of Jacob and I and how we came to be and my first time ever meeting him and all that jazz. So keep watching this video if you're interested. Okay, so my very first time ever meeting Jacob was April of 2012, and I had just transferred to Eagle Ridge Academy. It was like one of my very first days at this school, and Jacob is in the classroom, just being crazy, like just weird, crazy class clown sophomore boy. And he tried to talk to me, and I don't remember what he said, but I do remember like looking at him like, who are you and why are you talking to me? And I would not give him the time of day. I was like too cool for him. Like, I was this new girl just meeting like all these new girlfriends, and I was like, you're not gonna, like, no, don't want to be associated with you. That was like me in my sophomore year of high school at Eagle Ridge Academy. Anyway, so that was that. He started dating someone else like a week or two later. We didn't really talk, and I hung out with my friends, he was with his. I saw him around, but it was always just like, oh, there's that kid that thinks he's so funny. Yeah, so that was my very first impressions and time meeting Jacob. Okay, so anyway, then junior year started and we had more classes together this year. I don't think we actually even had one class together sophomore year. I think he was just like in the classroom during a lunch hour or advisory when he tried to talk to me. But anyway, so our junior year of high school, we had more classes together, and I think we just kind of gradually started talking here and there. Like, it wasn't just like automatic, it was just over time. And then by the beginning of October, we were texting and talking and getting close, like really close. And then on the way to the homecoming dance, like, everybody got on a bus and they drove us to the homecoming dance, which was like in a barn in the middle of nowhere. But on the bus, he asks me to be his date. And I look at him and I'm just like, no. I flat out said no. And at this point, I was starting to crush on him. Like, I was like, oh, I like this guy. He's totally different than the guy that I first met sophomore year. But I was like, I am not going to say yes to a guy who asks me to be his date on the way to the dance. Like, you could have asked a week ago. So I flat out said no. And then at the dance, we hung out a little bit, and we took our very first picture together. I'll insert that at the end of this. He's not even looking in the picture because a hat flew away and everybody looked the other way except for me. And then we took our second picture together, which turned out a lot better, and I'll insert that in here too. You probably saw them if you watched my favorite memories video. Anyway, and then there was a point throughout the dance where I was sitting on my friend's lap and he was sitting in the chair next to us, and he was just being super flirty and cute, and we promised each other that we would dance if a slow song came on. We were like, I'll dance with you if a slow song comes on. But a slow song never came on, so we did not dance. But we continued talking after that night. That's the first night I ever hugged him, is after we got off the bus when we were back at school, and I hugged him goodbye, and truly I never wanted to let go. I was like, I don't want to let this guy walk away. Yeah, so I think that night is the night when I was really like, I want something to come of this, not just crushing anymore. Like, I want to get to know this guy a lot better. Okay, well then, the bad part of the story is after that night, about, I want to say maybe a week later, Jacob tells me he likes me. And then I had a guy friend at the time who I like was talking to a lot also. And I told this guy, like, Jacob really likes me. And this guy, I'll name him Bob. So Bob decides he's going to tell me he likes me too. And so all of a sudden I'm like, what? Like, now I have Jacob, who I was really starting to crush on, and who is telling me he likes me, but I also have this friend, this new guy friend who I've been talking to, and all of a sudden he likes me too. And I was so confused. I was asking everybody, like, what am I supposed to do? After talking to a lot of people, I ended up making a decision that was not the right decision. I decided to go with Bob, and I was told Jacob, like, I'm gonna be with Bob. And so Jacob and I kind of just stopped talking, and I was with Bob, who ended up being gay. But I think he just told me he liked me because he was confused and he saw me as an option slipping away, so he wanted to like grasp before I was like out of reach. I think that was kind of selfish on his part, but it was my mistake for choosing him. Truthfully, the whole time I knew I'd made the wrong decision, and from the second I'd made the decision, I regretted it a lot. And Jacob and I would like sit in class and just make eye contact, like from across the room. He'd like look at me, and then I'd look at him, and then he'd look away, and I'd look away, and so on. And that kind of went on for a while, and I just felt like a chemistry between us. And then things started to go really like downward with me and Bob, and it started just to become a really, really negative impact on my life, this relationship with Bob. It's weird saying Bob, that's not his name. But anyway, things went south, and I turned to Jacob, like, for help. Like, what do I do? Bob had some serious depression and problems with that, and ended up actually trying to like commit suicide, and it was really hard on me to handle. I had like the night he told me he was going to, I ended up calling Jacob and asking him for help. Like, what am I supposed to do? Sorry, that's my phone. Anyway, so I ended up calling Jacob. Jacob like helped me a lot. He had me call the police, and the police went, picked up Bob, took him to the hospital, and at that point I knew like I could not stay with Bob. Like, I couldn't fix him. I didn't like him like that. Like, he was always just a friend, and it was such a negative thing in my life. But I couldn't bring myself to like go to the hospital and break up with someone who's in the hospital for depression. So instead I went and I visited him, and I just tried to be a friend to him, and I waited until he was a little more stable. And then when he was out of the hospital, I broke up with him, and I told him like, I want to be your friend, I want to support you, but this is not working. This is not good for me. And he totally just freaked out at me. That friendship ended right there. He did some really, really bad things, and I was just done. And I started, like, I was talking to Jacob the whole time, like, I feel horrible. And Jacob was a huge support to me. Like, he listened, he always said the right things. And, like, being with Bob kind of, like, put me on a downward spiral, too. Like, it had such a negative impact on me. But Jacob always listened and helped and talked me through it. And then we started talking more and more and more. And then we hung out, I think, 2 times. And then on Christmas Day, yeah, Christmas, yeah, the 25th, that's Christmas Day, I went over to his house, and he asked me to be his girlfriend. And of course I said yes. Like, I should have said yes from the beginning. But honestly, I felt like the luckiest girl in the world to be given a second chance from this guy who I flat out turned down twice. And I was lucky enough that he waited around. And honestly, though, I wouldn't go back and change anything, because like choosing the wrong guy, like really, it taught me a lot, and it like showed me how patient and kind and loving Jacob is. And I know I would have seen that anyway if I chose him right away, but I don't know. He just really proved himself to me. and now here we are, almost 2 years later. It's more like a year and 7 months, but almost 2 years later, more in love than I ever could have imagined when I first like hugged him. I knew I wanted something to come of it, but I never imagined it to be where we are today, and I am so thankful for it, and I'm so thankful that my decision was able to be fixed a couple months later. So yeah, I wouldn't go back and change anything, and now he's my best friend. He quickly became my best friend. So anyway, Jacob, I love you. I hope you're having an amazing third week at boot camp, and I hope all of your recruits are having an amazing first time at boot camp too. Stay tuned for more videos. I should be back tomorrow or within the next couple days. Good night, everybody.